What is up, peeps? Happy Tuesday night to you all. I'm starting early. I'm going early. I was supposed to start at 7:10, but I had a members only at 6:00, and I talked. And if anyone was listening, but apparently they were. But when you set a members only, so you go into StreamYard and you set it for unlisted, then when you make it, it doesn't show up on YouTube yet. So you could go into the YouTube thing and make it a members only, so it doesn't appear and disappear or whatever. I want to do that, but I set it for private. So there was a little message in the top, but I didn't think anything of it. I'm thinking, well, people comment, so it moves up. But I went on. I talked for about 45 minutes, and yeah, at least you guys got to listen to me. But the whole point of having members only is so you guys, like, you know, there isn't as many in chat. People could talk. They want to come up. Maybe they're more comfortable with whatever, 15 members, whatever it is I have, as opposed to being in bigger chats. You know, not that I get any giant ones, but some people might pour in later. This was supposed to start at 7:10. And tonight, the big topic, obviously, is going to be why I support the families. You know, I'm not going to name anyone that bashes the families or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you why I support them and my reasons for it. But real quick, before we say hi to everybody, we'll get into a couple things that I just to go over what I went over a little bit there. To say hi to all you guys. My back's feeling great. I have what's called Pizio treatment on it. It's like a sonogram. They put that gel on you, and then they find a spot in your back where it like hurts. Feels like there's like hands digging inside of you underneath your skin. And once they hold it there, they go back and forth a little bit, and it's like 1,000 little punches to that exact area. And it made me feel a lot better. So worked out again last night. And as you know, guys know, I told you I'm moving into beautiful Ms. Brooks' house, Ms. Brooke for a short time anyway. So I'm moving stuff out. So I got stuff all over the dining room, giving my kids stuff, you know, hacking up old Christmas ornaments that we got, you know, passed on from the family. So I want to keep those things going. Some of the stuff, the ornaments I have are like from the 50s, which are really cool, old things. I got a couple of them old trees. God, I can't remember what they're called. Ceramic with the bulbs in them. I have a big one and a little one. They're really nice. Can't remember what they're called. But anyways, I'm going to get out of here right for 8 o'clock. Frank has a live at 8, and Frank has some really good stuff that I talked to him. Some of you might have heard about it already, but I'm not going to expound on it too much because I wasn't there, but we'll get to it. Michigan and Oregon stuff. Wish they wouldn't have scored that last touchdown, especially with the spread. And we're at Indiana this week. Indiana, you guys in Indiana, you have a fucking football team scoring a ton of points. Signetti, his dad actually recruited me at IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, whenever I was in high school to play football there. His old man, he ended up running for senator or something. He could have been the president of Indiana, PA. And Indiana, PA also is where Jimmy Stewart is from, in case you didn't know. But anyways, that's funny because, you know, Indiana's Mexico and all these other names, and Pennsylvania has some wild names too. Real quick, before I get into the family thing, I do want to cover some Delphi developments that have happened. And some of you guys, most of you have heard this already. Probably most people here are probably in my members only anyway. But I'm going to show you some things because there's been some things that have come out today that were, to me, dramatic in court, and it mostly involves the defense phone witness and things like that. And it's a litlittle bit odd, but it's very like, oh wow, holy shit, man. So we'll talk about that. But let's say hi to everybody first. Someone I mentioned in a comment real quick. They pay you to. It's a new day. Well, it's a new day. Not here, it isn't. Goodbye. Paid, yeah, that's one of their crazier ideas that we get paid. Produce something. If you can produce something that anyone got paid, I'll leave YouTube because I know it isn't true. You know what I mean? You don't got to pay me to support families of murder victims. Fuck no. I'll do that pro bono. Libby and Abby were loved and always will be. Peace. Yes. Yeah. Agree with you. Rescue all the dogs. You don't need to explain why they're good people. Yeah. You know what? I thought that for a long time, but I think now it's just like the renewal of the vitriol. And there's a couple things. There's parallels with Richard Allen that I want to draw too. So I want to kind of show how some of the hypocrisy in it, not to mention just the misguided, I don't even know. I'm usually good with words, but craziness. Yeah, well, whatever. He or she can do what they like elsewhere. Puddin' Pops vote. Well, you know what? If you're able to vote in this country, everyone, I don't think that we can ever pare that down and say, you can't vote. You're a felon or this or that. Okay, I get it, but past that. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah. Yeah. So I told you guys what I did. So I won't do that again, but I'm going to do another one to make up for this one because part of that members only, actually the main part of it is interacting with people on a smaller level. What's up, James? Good to see you. Yeah, but there were some things in court today before we get to the family stuff. Good to see you, Melissa. Junior, good to see you. See what the Wolverines do this weekend, Junior. I don't know. Shane, always good to see you. I want to cheer for them, but they're tough. Indiana's tough. They're having a great year. They got an offense, boy. Woo! Yeah, Teresa, it's a pretty wild day in court. And as in the Delphi saga, as the world turns in Delphi, if you will, people were reporting different things. I just got off the phone with someone who told me something totally different. Gibbo, the very fearless and funny. Melissa wants to know what Chinks made for supper. I had meatloaf. Brooke made meatloaf. Yeah, I banned It's a New Day. None of my mods did. Yeah, well, it's a new day. Maybe next time, at least if you have a better fake account, funny one, I might give you some free shots of me because I truly don't give a fuck. And I'm fortunate in that way. I was a high school basketball coach. Believe me, nothing anyone can say on YouTube ever about me is worse than what I could have heard there. And he just, okay, free world. You do what you want to do, right? Free country, make your opinion. But anyways, tool mark evidence real quick. We'll go over this, try to get this done in like 20 minutes. But I have a bunch of tweets I want to show you, and I'll get through them better. They're all out of fucking order because that's how I email shit for some reason. The tool mark witness only looked at photos, didn't actually look at the bullet. The people that I talked to that were in the court and even coverage done by, the media is Luttrell did pretty good against the tool mark expert. I've heard back and forth conflicting. This is something else that's conflicting. His laboratory is certified. Then I heard it isn't. So again, it's one of those things like yesterday. I shared a thing on YouTube where probably only a couple people saw it. It's whatever they were questioning Richard Allen's daughter, and they said, "Do you love your dad?" And she said, "No." It was reported by WTHLR and by Barb McDonald. And someone came, I don't even know who the user was, came on and said, "Hey, this isn't true. It's been redacted." I went back and I posted the redacted Barb McDonald quote where she redacted it. WTHLR, I hope I'm saying that right. They also did a redaction too. But so again, I don't know. I've heard conflicting things about that. I watched a little bit of the defense diaries today, and Allison Maud actually says the jury, she believes the jury's believing at least some of if not a decent amount of the tool mark evidence from the state. Apparently, this tool mark person they had wasn't good. He's from Tennessee. He did do some work with federal authorities and stuff like that, but he never sees the bullet. He didn't look at it under a microscope. He said the pictures are okay for that. But again, it leaves to be desired, right? Like the police investigation, there's things like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You're the defense. Why didn't you send that guy to the lab and look at that? Would that have changed the testimony today? I don't know, but Betsy Blair, backup called for by the defense. She was also a prosecution witness. What she said was it was not a bright car. Some people reported that it was not a black car, but people in court told me they didn't say it was not a black. It might have been said somewhere in either a deposition or previous testimony. Baldwin had the old deposition thing, but their take on it was, she said it wasn't a bright colored car, but she did say that it had, this Comet look, and she could tell because it was backed in. She couldn't tell if it was a hatchback, which is odd. She said, about being a Comet, but then she said it wasn't a hatchback. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about cars, but it was interesting there. And it obviously wasn't as contentious, apparently, as the previous testimony of Betsy Blair and Baldwin. So one of the things that I thought as I watched last night, Hidden True Crime. Lauren was on. I get so many of these. They're still calling for political calls. Goodness gracious, the election's over in an hour. You quit calling me. Dr. John and Lauren, Hidden True Crime. He believes that the psychosis some of it was induced. You need to go watch it because I don't want to try to surmise what he said, because he's a psychologist or a forensic criminal psychologist, something to that effect. So he's very much into the criminal psyche, and his thoughts on it. And he mentioned this last night, and then Fig shared something. I shared it on there too. He's making these confessions before he sees the discovery. He's saying these things before. Now, people can argue, well, he was on the Facebook groups, he was on the Reddit groups. I think he was. Is that where he saw the white van, or is he just the murderer? You know what I mean? So but we know that now, that he was doing these things first. Here's one of the things that I thought of too. That alcohol withdrawal is worse than heroin withdrawal. A lot of people say you should be medically watched the entire time, so nothing happens to you. Organs don't shut down, heart attack, stuff like that. Was he going through some kind of psychosis from an alcohol withdrawal? We know he was an alcoholic. If you go by the book, what it says, whatever it is, four days a week or more, you have more than 2 drinks. Don't quote me exactly. But Richard Allen was a beer drinker. Like sit in his yard or sit in his driveway and drink beer. And a lot of people like to do that and wouldn't consider themselves alcoholics. But he's having a couple beers at lunch at noon. Maybe it's a day off. It's a Monday. Maybe that's his routine. I don't know. But it seems like a lot. People said he drank a lot. He had that incident in his house where he hurt himself or was going to hurt himself. But anyways, I just wonder if it was some kind of withdrawal thing that he was going through. Could that have been a psychosis that these people were arguing back and forth? I'm not going to talk about the morning testimony. Again, Frank's up at 8. Check him out. But one of the things is there's Frank's going to set something straight. Now, some other people have been saying, a lot of people have reported a juror yelled at the judge to let him finish. Well, that is not being reported by other people that were in the courtroom. And I will let Frank expound on that because he was there. So I encourage you to go see him at 8. But the people that are yelling out that it was a juror that yelled at the judge, let him answer the question. Frank was in the courtroom. Frank heard and saw something else. So at 8 o'clock, you can check him out and he'll tell you about that. But I talked to him on the phone and I was like, wow, okay. There was also a rumor that Richard Allen had a Post-it note in court. I don't know if you guys saw that. There was people in the media. I don't know if they were in the media pull notes or just people in there and they we saw this and we saw that. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. I know the Bible's there. Richard Allen with his arm, Baldwin coffin, I think staged. OJ putting her arm on Richard Allen is 100% staged, 100%. And it's smart. Here's a woman who's going to put her arm and soothe this guy who's accused of killing 2 little girls. Well, there's no way that woman would do that if she thought that he was really guilty. Whether she thinks that or not, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. But it's for optics, and it's a good optic, and it's a smart optic. And again, I don't know if I talked about this in my previous one. Someone made a comment about the Geneva Convention, and you can't be in solitary for more than 30 days or whatever it is. Don't quote me on the number. Geneva Convention is wartime. And instead of, I think it was, I believe it was Diener that said, well, the Indiana Department of Corrections doesn't follow the Geneva Convention. I'd love to see her follow up with, just like every city, state, county in the United States of America. That is a wartime thing, and that's a decision that's made. Now, if you want to argue that our prison system should follow what the Geneva Convention follows, that's fine, but you got to get to the legislative level. That's just how it is. In any prison, anywhere, they don't follow the Geneva Convention. It's a wartime thing, but it's a smart move by the defense to throw that in there because people have heard of that. Not many people could tell you what that is or anything like that, or, NATO come together. And I don't even know the entire history of it, but they throw that out there. That was good. That was a good job by the defense. And I just wish Diener would have kind of hammered that home. Like, Indiana doesn't follow that. Same as every other state, city, county in the United States of America. But I get it. So let's see what everybody's saying. And I'm going to show you these tweets that I showed everybody in my members only that I couldn't talk to. So I'll do another one. It could do a lot of things, Jinx. I've heard stories, and I know people that have been on heroin and alcohol, and they would argue that alcohol was harder because heroin was, I don't know if it's like the first couple of days you get that initial out of you, but alcohol, there was more sleeplessness and, more like it stretched out longer, and the symptoms were just as bad or worse, the physical symptoms that people had. Again, that's just a total theory or an idea, and I never thought of it before. Hey, Frosty. I was talking about your Hoosiers there. Not about your Colts, though. They're having a little rough time. I agree that he's a narcissist. He's not your typical chest out narcissist. He's concerned about only himself, but he does it from like a withdrawn place. He's not going to be the loudest guy in the room. He's not going to walk into a bar and, hey, motherfuckers, and everyone's, hey, Richard, he'll go around and probably talk to everybody. Hey, how you doing, buddy? That type of thing. But he is concerned with himself. He is concerned with his family. I believe that. But utmost, I still think that's himself. Eat a Bible. Well, hey, there's worse things he's accused of eating than that. Boston Christian, good to see you. Cryptex, good to see you. Gail. All right. Jamie Hicks, good to see you. Jinx is awesome. The boss mod, as always. Oh, Gail, thank you very much. Yeah, the membership thing, the last, I explained it on my members only. The last video I made, it's gave me all thumbs up. I gave that dude props in the video, and then later on it said I couldn't use it anymore. But the one I just did should be up. But I'm kind of going to show you the same thing here real quick. And then I want to get on to the family. But these are things I want to show you. So I'm going to show you tweets today from a lady on Twitter that I'm going to encourage you to follow if you're on Twitter. And it's Wish TV's tweets. And it's about the defense's phone witness. So let me get up here and get through this. We'll talk about this real quick. If you're in members only, you know that if you send things in order on Gmail, they come up mumbo jumbo order. So let me find page 1. Some of these things are a little bit trivial. We'll get through them real fast. And some of these things you guys are going to want to talk about or discuss, I am sure. So this is the afternoon session. Simply Stranger is the lady. She shares a lot of Wish TV stuff. I'm not sure who she is, but I started to follow her when his trial started. And she's pretty quick to put updates. Twitter has updates. Twitter is really fast. And I just want to make sure we were in the right thing. Okay. This is 411 update. Court is back in session 147. The state says the next witness is a phone expert, and they requested 2 previous witnesses who examined Libby's phone be able to sit in the court for rebuttal purposes. That, I guess, happens because no one mentions anything, but we're going to bring that back up later because I think they might have set a trap. I'm not sure. The jury is back in courtroom at 152. The defense calls Stacey Eldridge. Eldridge is an expert in computer information management. She worked for the FBI as a forensic examiner. Later, as a senior examiner, she also worked as an instructor on digital evidence. Eldridge says she left the FBI and is now a licensed private detective in Nebraska. She tells the jury she used to have a license in California. It's Cellbrite, the software used to forensically examine phones. She might have examined phones in California. I'm not going to say that's true or false. Now we have to go through, if you were in my members only, this is god-awful and painstaking watching me do this. It'd probably be more fun to slide down a razor banister. But again, I sent these in order, like reverse order on purpose. Like, so the first thing would be 1. That didn't work. This is more about her. She has credentials. She has chops. She's a consultant now, an adjunct at 2 universities. Eldridge tells the jury she has testified 3 times for the government, owns a business called Silicon Prairie Cyber Services. She's getting paid $300 an hour. She's worked 65 hours, 15 hours of prep time. I don't know the percentage, if that's a high percentage of prep time for them hours worked. It seems like that it would be the 15 hours of prep for the trial. I don't know, though. You know, if you're a law dog or know a little bit more, maybe that's an average time. Eldridge says she reviewed in October 2017 phone cell extraction as well as the Cellbrite report and the report from Chris Cecil. Chris Cecil is the ISP phone tech guy, for lack of a better term. She also says she reviewed Cecil's deposition. Baldwin's big on depositions, man. She tells the jury that ISP used Cellbrite, Axiom, and other forensic tools to examine Libby's phone. Eldridge says she primarily used Axiom and two others. They never say what the 2 others are in these tweets or if that would make a difference or not. She explains to the jury every tool can do the same thing. It's going to show differently, but it kind of does the same thing. It extracts the information, but it does it in a different way. She tells the jury an extraction is getting all the data out of a phone so you could examine it later. Eldridge says everything she examined came from the ISP. As we go on, this heats up. Let's see what page this is that I blew it up. Oh, where you got that one. And again, I am sorry for this being all wonky. There we go. Some of this overlaps a little bit. Eldridge said she reviewed October. Yeah, that's the overlap one. Sorry. 2 or 3 of these tweets overlap at the beginning. Like I could have skipped. I think it was 4 there. And again, these are raw pictures. I just took them off. They're not cleaned up or anything. As you can see, it's just a quick screenshot. There was just so many of them. There ends up being like 20 of these, but I promise I'll get through them quick, guys. She tells the jury ISP used, yeah, this is the overlap one. She's explaining it's a little different. She gets the jury that an extraction, getting all data off a phone so you can examine it later. Eldridge says everything she examined came from ISP. She says there are 3 level 6 extractions that you can do. Each one of them pulls different amounts of info. Eldridge explains that logical extraction covers basic user information. And as we're going to find out, that is what ISP did. Cecil did initially was a logical extraction, which is basic information. And he only takes out for going back in the month of October. That's this one right here. ISP had a capacity in early 17 to do a full extraction, but only did October of that year. She tells the jury this caused issues and caused the loss of a specific piece of data called the current power log. She tells the jury that log only stays saved in between a phone being turned on and all the way off. And again, I'm not really sure what the hell exactly that means. But we'll get into it real quick here. Let's see. Yeah, McClellan, I don't know what he's doing here. So Etheridge says the log also the phone went into airplane mode. She said that her priority is finding out what happened at 4:34 and all the messages came through, right? Judge Gall calls for a sidebar after the prosecution says they have not examined an exhibit showing Etheridge's report on Libby's phone database. First, they say that they have not examined the exhibit. Then they say they have no objection. So that somehow is explained. I don't know if it was we're not sure what you're talking about or whatever. But we're getting up to the interesting stuff, folks. I promise you. I can't see chat right now, but I will be back into it. And again, if these darn things were numbered the right way, the way I sent them, purposely backwards, so one would be first. Wouldn't have to do all this craziness for you. Here we go, page 8. Well, page 9 is next, so that's not bad. Eldridge leaves the witness stand, goes to a screen showing the report. She explains many of the columns and rows. The reporter describes the exhibit similar to an Excel spreadsheet. Eldridge says she generally agrees with the state's expert examination on the timeline of Libby's phone, but there are things that does not agree with. So that's a common theme. She agrees with a lot on Cecil, but there is a disagreement or two. Obviously, that's why she's there, right? She says she does not agree with some of the times, some of the text calls and FaceTimes that were delivered between February 13th and 14th. Eldridge tells the jury there were times on the 13th and 14th the phone was not connected to a cell tower. She says the last time it was connected, we know that 5:45 p.m. And then we get a reconnection at 4:33 a.m. the next morning. And at the very end, there's 20 of these, but at the very end, the jury questions, as always, are really, really good. She tells the jury she reviewed cell phone pings from AT&T. She shows the AT&T historical precision location logs. The state objects and points out that Eldridge does not have training on the network capability in Carroll County. They say the log isn't complete and Eldridge is not qualified. That was number 10, if I'm not mistaken. Number 11. Defense attorney OJ says the page admitted into evidence is one pertinent to the investigation, but there are several hundred more. Gall admits the exhibit over the state's objection. Eldridge says Libby's phone's last connection was February 14th. So again, we're just kind of re-harping on that, which we sort of knew that, right? We don't know maybe what turned it off or did it turn off or this or that, but those times we all knew that phone was there. And sorry, I missed number 12 here. At least I know when I go by and they're real big, we already looked at them. Here's page 12. She says the phone was not using, that's got to be data in between those times. Cecil's report said there were messages coming through during the time frame. Eldridge says there's evidence the phone did not have messages delivered in between these times. Eldridge says that some of those messages did have timestamps in between the two times but weren't delivered. She says voicemails between the two times were not delivered until February 17th. So Eldridge says no information, no data is coming in between that roughly 5:45 p.m. and 4:34 in the morning, okay? This is what Eldridge says right here in tweet number 12, okay? That's tweet number 12. Say that 3 times fast, huh? Unlucky tweet number 13 here. They're asking her what a ping is. She says technical way to have one device see if another device is, and again, 5:45 p.m. It's not, but it's not successful until 4:33. So are they continuously sending these pings? I don't think they're sending them every minute on the minute, are they? Or is there any way that ping can turn that phone back on and they can help it connect? I don't know. That's never asked and it's not addressed. Just something I wondered. Eldridge says she doesn't know why the phone did not ping in that time frame, even though it was under Abby's back and it was stationary. She says, I could only conclude something external happened to the phone, that it could have been moved, blocked by metal, or could have been blocked from the tower. Somehow, some way. Blocked. But as you're going to see here coming up soon, part 14, I forgot where we were. She was having problems with her phone prior to that. It was going in and out. We're getting there, I promise you. Good grief, as Charlie Brown would say. 1817. 14. Here's the one that everybody's talking about. This is the big one from today. Eldridge is asked about the phone's health data. She says she agrees with Cecil. What Cecil found on the data on the steps, she said iPhones will not log steps if you get in the car. So again, if you think that phone left there and was returned, it either has to be, turned off, or something has to happen to it, or that car has to drive to the spot where the girls were, and we know that that's absolutely impossible. Eldridge says she now knows that 5:45 p.m. on February 13th, between 5:45 and February 13th, what it should say is on February 13th, between 5:45 p.m. and 10:32 p.m. that night, that the phone had wired headphones plugged in. She demonstrates headphones being plugged into an iPhone 6. Wired headphones are plugged in, she's saying, at these times. Okay, that's about 5:30 and 10:30 at night. Okay. And like I told you, business is about to pick up. Eldridge says that right before the headphones were plugged in, there was an incoming call. She said the headphones would have stopped that call. Eldridge previously, as I pointed out to you, said that no calls or no data came in during roughly 5:30 p.m. and 4:43 or whatever it was a.m. the next day. But somehow a phone call was coming in. So she contradicted herself on this point, unless this is clarified further. But with these notes, how could you do that? She said someone plugged headphones in and it would have stopped the call. So I guess she's saying someone had the phone started ringing, somehow it got through, even though it didn't have any service, and they plugged headphones into it. Prosecutor Nick McClellan, it begins his cross-examination. Didn't mean to do that. The first time she's testified, he asked her, other than July, she tells the jury she got a rough location where the bodies were. She was never at the crime scene. And that has been the case with quite a few witnesses on both sides, looking at pictures, looking at different things like that. Part 16. Eldridge said she did not review every bit of info gathered by Cecil and focused mostly on health data. She says she did not review the bridge guy video. She did review the bridge guy video and agreed with the video's timestamp and the GPS. She says she did not examine it enough to know the GPS location changed 4 seconds in. But again, they don't make a big deal about that. That's just how that fucking GPS comes in. So again, the defense themselves, again, debunking that the bridge guy video isn't real, or it's AI, or maybe the state of Indiana isn't real. I don't know. But Eldridge explains that the phone has to move up and down to track the motion. It doesn't work in a car. We knew that from Cecil. Again, that those two agree on that. That's probably like a pretty standard thing that I guess people in that industry would know right off the top. Okay, page 17. We're almost done, guys. Let's see what you guys have to say about this. I just thought this was super, super interesting, and I know it's cumbersome and there's a lot to it, but this is one of the most interesting witnesses I think that they've had yet. She says the phone was in and out of service before 5:45 p.m. on the 13th. Could be an explanation that Libby's phone just was hopping in and out of service and got service at 4:33 a.m. Again, she's saying Libby's phone did not have service till 4:33 a.m., but previously she said a phone was plugged in between 5:30 and 10:30. A call came through and headphones were plugged in, so the call would stop, or to stop the call. But again, she says there's nothing coming through. So I don't understand that. McClellan asked Eldridge if the phone would have been moved to plug the headphones. He asked if it could have been registered in the health data. Eldridge says that could be, but she didn't test it. She says there also could have been a signal blocker like metal or a building, which is, I guess, is always possible. Page 18. On redirect, Eldridge says she reviewed the most important information in the number of hours she had. So apparently she didn't have a ton of hours to do this for whatever reason. OJ asked her if the FBI ever did a drive study, which is a study that includes driving around to ping the towers. And she says theoretically. I don't understand that question, really. if they didn't do it, I don't know. Maybe there's some context there that's missed because I'm not in the courtroom, or people are just writing down notes as furiously as they can. Be 18 or 19. Must be 19. And then 20 are the jury questions. Jury always asking good questions. Eldridge tells the jury, in order to plug in an auxiliary cable in, the phone would have to be moved. But she's saying auxiliary cable, it's something that's just not from the phone. But she specifically said headphones before, and she showed headphones. The phone would have to be moved. She said the phone would not have had the log movement if it was powered off after 4:33 a.m. But again, she said that the phone was plugged in between 5:30 and 10:30. But she's talking about 4:33 a.m. So I don't know. I just find it very interesting. At 3:30, McClellan starts cross-examination again. A little bit of movement for the phone to start logging movements. And we got one more page. These are juror questions. You ever write down your timeline? Eldridge said no. Could any of this be related to Libby's iPad? Eldridge says they were not synced. First time I've heard that, I think really for sure, maybe. Would water impact? Eldridge says no. Water will not impact the port. Now, I'm not sure what she means by that, and she's a phone expert, and I'm not. But I have damage to the point where I had to get 2 new phones, cell phones, because I specifically spilled things in the charging port. Now, I don't know if that's the same as the headphone port or whatever, but she says no. And I don't know how that's possible. Like if you drop the phone in the water, I don't know. You know what I mean? Could the phone have been totally underwater and submerged and stopped? I don't know. Can you tell if the phone was on silent or vibrate? Eldridge says no. Could you review Alan's historical location if he was using a Ting phone? She said she could if it was available. That's an interesting question because I thought of that when I heard her coming up here. Are there other apps that measure movement? She says yes, but she didn't look into them. Court recesses at 3:45. So I wanted to show you guys that, and I want to see what you guys have to say about that. And then we'll get to the topic at hand. I find it very interesting. I don't know if it's a banner day for the defense. Do what you do, Jamie. I hate to give anyone recognition. If people want to do what they want to do, and their numbers are rising, so maybe it'll work. Shane, I don't know. An iPhone at 2017, I don't know if I was like you only could put headphones in there, or if it was an auxiliary thing. I don't know how that would work. But she said headphones, and they said she displayed headphones plugging it into an iPhone. So she specifically said headphones. Later, she said an auxiliary cord. But I think that based on the previous testimony that she was just saying anything that's not inside that phone and you're adding a cord is auxiliary or it's outside. Yeah, they have. And you've had some like Nancy Grace bow up. Yeah, he's still there. He's actually blown up. He has like 17,000 subs. He does a lot of Madeline McCann stuff. And that is huge, I guess, worldwide. Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely like Fig. Fig's my guy. Cool guy. Smart guy. Yeah, I don't know, but it's very easy to understand if it would. But she said no, and there was no like, unless they didn't have it. Like, what do you mean no? Like, can this happen? Could water do it? What if I dropped it in a river? What if I dropped it in a creek? Scott saying this too, and we heard everyone's. But Doug Carter said tentacles. This might be just not what any of us really kind of thought it was. At least at some point in our Delphi journeys. We thought that everyone probably thought there was multiple people involved. Maybe people thought different people in particular. Maybe initially people looked at the family and thought stuff, but most people that are rational, good-hearted people could see that with the family. Well, I hate to look into this, but I have to, but it's not there. It's not there. And one of the rumors that have been reported around the courthouse today, it's a rumor that the defense might rest tomorrow. If the defense rests tomorrow, both sides of this case were very underwhelming, in my opinion. I don't know what the jury thinks, but in my opinion, not being there, both kind of underwhelming. The jury's questions have been fantastic. The jury questions are better than the cross-examination questions. A lot of them, in my opinion, a lot of them. Okay. But if that happens, and let's say whether it is tomorrow or however soon, I don't know. But if it does happen tomorrow, I agree with you, Big Fish. Maybe, and so basically, the defense witnesses aren't getting the data. They didn't get the bullet to look at the bullet. I think you should do that. Both sides are leaving a lot to be desired. Police investigation and defense too. Go send your guy to that lab, look at that bullet. This is a huge case. Who gives a fuck what it costs? Go get it done. But they didn't do it. They had him look at the pictures, which he said is fine. But like this too, why wouldn't do their own phone dive? Maybe they could find stuff that the state police didn't find that it will either help or hurt Richard Allen. If it hurts Richard Allen, of course, they're not going to say, well, hey, look what we found this. But, it's odd. It's very odd. I agree with you. I thought that they would want to present more. Oh, the London riots. Yeah, that's pretty. I remember that. I don't watch too much news anymore, but I remember seeing that over the summer. We had some riots and stuff here. Hopefully you didn't get hurt or anything there. Jury yelled a goal. A guy raised his voice, but not a goal. This is what we heard too. Yeah, this is what I hear too. It wasn't a juror. But again, you're relying on people, to put things out. I agree. And again, Miranda, I'm not a phone expert. I would never try to say that I'm smarter than that. Miss Eldridge about phone stuff. Never in a million years would I ever make that claim. I just know that phones that I've had, and I have Droids, I usually don't have an iPhone, but I've twice ruined it by getting stuff in the charging port. And I know that that's different than a headphone port, but I don't know, Yeah, we still don't. Yeah, that's odd. It's bizarre. You got pagers from before. And again, that's something else, Gibbo, that why hasn't the prosecution ever asked, hey, where'd that phone go? Or asked somebody, or asked Kathy Allen when she's on the stand, or, hey, 2017, you remember what happened to your husband's phone? Did he trade it in? No one's asked that. Why wouldn't you ask that? And if you traded it in, did it go to somebody else? Was there got to be a way to get to that phone and get to that data? Or, he reported it missing, which would make it look bad. Again, it's not proof that he did this crime. But if he has all these things and his 2017 is the only phone he ever reported missing, the jury might be like, and add that to 10 other things, not just on itself. I mean, his car, geofence. Yeah. Yeah, they said they were looking at the computers of the car, but I don't know how much it had. Like, these things have things now where some of these cars, and not even all of them have it, but they can pull it's like a CPU. I don't know if they call it a CPU or not. And if it's not damaged, it isn't like a black box. It could get damaged in the car. And you could tell me how some fast people were going, things like that. Or the time that they're going real fast and there's a rapid deceleration, they'll record that. And that's when your bags go off from rapid deceleration. Why don't they put him on a stand? Yeah. Well, if I'm him and I'm innocent, maybe I'm stubborn and maybe I'm stupid, but I'm going on the stand. Richard Allen isn't the same type of person as me. I'm outgoing. I like to talk. I like to bullshit. Richard Allen is more reserved. I could think we could all agree on that by the way he acts and just anything we've seen. His voice is low. He's not a yeller. If they put him on a stand and said, Richard, where were you during these times? And he says, I was here. I have an alibi. We still have not heard an alibi for where he was at the times of the murders. And I think the defense has done probably an admirable job, but I don't think they want him even to talk in court. Look at Gail Hurd. I'm just seeing that up there. Thank you so much. Congratulations to whoever got the membership. We do true crime stuff. We do all kind of other shit, funny stuff. Jinx and Gail Hurd, fantastic. Jinx, Gail Hurd, and Honeybee pretty much fund my members only, and I really appreciate it. But I think we have really good chats. I really enjoy them. There we go. All the phones, honey. Did they say that they traded in? Because I haven't heard exactly what happened with that phone. But again, that was something I thought the defense or the prosecution might hit on, you know? Yeah, he certainly could. It might be shocking evidence, but you know what? The defense, they to be in all fairness, probably know they can't explain where he was at. I don't know. That's probably the smart, prudent thing to do, Big Fish. But I'm not always smart and prudent. I would want to get up there and scream, "You motherfuckers, I didn't do this." That's a theory, but I don't think so, Gibbo. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. I think Rick's a relatively tall guy. I see Bridge Guy, and again, there are people that sent me worked, and they had that worked out, and I believe it's 5'3" to 5'5". I truly do. So I don't think it's anybody. Weber, man, that guy's ready to blow his fucking stack at any time, right? Ooh, scrolling through, catching up. Oh. Whoops. Yeah. Talking to police, yeah, I could see that. Unless you have something like 100%, like, no, I was literally in the doctor's office getting a procedure done or something. You know what I mean? Something like that. But I understand with the stand too. You know, OJ never took the stand, right? Innocent people don't eat their own shit. I haven't been able. I've done a lot of what I call parallel research on different things that have happened in this case. I can't find any. I find people smearing shit and things like that. And to be honest with you, it seems like it's like 50-50. They're crazy or they're just doing it. Some guys will do it because they want it like that cell extraction done where they come on in here, I'm going to kill you, motherfucker, and they have to go in and get it. There's different things before it. One of the other things I looked at is innocent man, innocent suspect confesses to mother. Because you know how we are when I talk about mothers and these killers, it almost always goes back to some mom issue. Not 100% of the time. But if it's a guy, man, and he's doing this, especially anything to women, it's almost guaranteed that it's a mother thing. Richard Allen didn't appear to have that. Now, he didn't know his real dad, but he had a stepdad forever. And I had the same thing. And you know that early on going in, it wasn't like it was a hidden thing like possibly Ted Bundy. It wasn't anything like that. But the confessions to the mom, I can't find anyone that's confessed to the mom like this. We saw the words. We know the words. We know that Richard Allen made confessions before he got to discovery, right? We know that Richard Allen made confessions before he got to the discovery. So again, I don't know if you're looking at that time when he goes in, early November, the psychosis, maybe it is an alcohol induced. Maybe that is over by then. Maybe he gets past that at that point. I don't know. I just wonder if the long-term effects of not drinking. Well, I'm glad to have you here. Send some good juju on the country for the election, no matter who people vote for. Doesn't matter much to me who you like or who you support, as long as you're good. Oh, talk about eating, yeah. Well, hey, that argument could be made too, Big Fish. It's just, it's weird. Like, so the defense, they called the doctor, Dr. Walla, to build her up and crash her down in those 3-day hearings. That's why she was called as a witness. At first, I'm like, why would they call her as a witness? She's terrible. Well, that's why. They were smarter than me, and they were building her up and they were ripping her down. And then that's why the state called her this time, right? But she said that he's feigning some symptoms. The other person that was on this morning said that he wasn't. You might have 10 other shrinks that come in there. And that's how these trials work. 5 might say he was, 5 might say it wasn't. Who makes the most compelling argument? Who's the jury believe at this point? One of the things that bothered me, and it was brought up, I think on the murder sheet, if I'm not mistaken, was going through some of them videos of Richard Allen's being tortured and things like that. They're fast forwarding through it. And then the comparison was made is, what if they fast forward through those confessions? What if the state fast forward? The state, you're fast forward. I don't know if you can object to that, but why are you fast forwarding through things? Just edit it out if you don't want people to see it. I don't know why that's happening. I don't know if it's a time thing. I don't know. The defense lawyers are eating the state ones. They're good lawyers, but I don't know about that and they might be better lawyers than the defense, than the prosecution, Cryptex. But I think the defense does not have a lot to work with. They don't. The prosecution didn't have a ton to work with either. And there's points that I think that they missed. But you blame the prosecution's not having a case because of the police work. If Allen's acquitted, and I do believe Allen's guilty, but if he's acquitted, that's our justice system. Libby and Abby will never get justice, not just because I think Allen's guilty, but because I don't think they'll never make another arrest in this case again. If you watch my video the other day, John Douglas said it, and they should have had somebody 2 or 3 days. That tip gets to the right. He was there. He was there. I was there. You were there. We're going to call you tomorrow and come out. And even some of the other witnesses that were there, they call him back 2 weeks later. This guy was there. That tip, even if you're a conservation officer, that tip goes to the police station. Here's a guy that was there. We have to rule him out first. After we rule out the families, we have to rule him out first, right? So if the defense rests tomorrow, let's say that they rest tomorrow, and this got away from me. I got into it, not as much family talk as I wanted to talk, but I'm going to close it strong with them. If the defense rests tomorrow, the defense rests soon, and they don't come out here and make crazy, baseless, heinous allegations against families of murdered children, then the defense team has to be in on this conspiracy too. There's no 2 ways about it, right? If they don't say that the family did this in some way, shape, or form, then they're in on it too. So your conspiracy's to about 100 now, right? What you had here was some shoddy police work and some good police work mixed together. And you had 2 really good defense attorneys that did a job, did everything that they can do, did everything within the bounds of the law, maybe stretched it a little bit, and given their client a chance to possibly get off. Now, we don't know what the jury thinks, but there's no family. There's a hair in the hand. If you're a woman, or if you're a man with hair, I can't do this. Go get a sweatshirt. Go look at a sweatshirt. Go look at a couple of sweatshirts. See if you don't find, especially if you have long hair past your shoulders. Go see if you don't find a hair in there, right? She's redressed in Libby's sweatshirt or Kelsey's sweatshirt. Libby took. She's redressed in that. And that hairs could be anywhere in there. Remember, conceivably, if her body's wet, even better, there's a better chance of it sticking. So the first thing that goes through is that fist, whether it was closed or the hand was open. If that hair is anywhere in the sleeve or here, the first thing it's going to catch is right there. So some say her hands were closed inside of the sweatshirt sleeves, but that's where you're going to see the most of that stuff. So, and it's one hair. It isn't 100 hairs pulled out. Should they have tested it? 1,000,000%. But if you jump to that conclusion that she did it because of that, there's no logical basis to that, right? None. And everything else is conjecture. She played this song. They did this. They did that. What's the motive? What's the motive for them to murder these girls? To get a memorial ball field? Let me tell you something. I could be an expert witness in this field. Coached baseball for many years, basketball for many years, youth. There's not a lot of money made at a baseball field per se. What you want to own is a gym. 3 basketball courts. You can rent it out for birthday parties, stuff like that. So a lot of times the concession stands aren't even open during practice. Sometimes they are. But the concession stand is like you're barely making any money because how cheap everything is out there. I carried pop upstairs. I know how much things were. Everything was purposely affordably priced. We talked about it. Like they had like walking tacos or nacho. You could get like nachos, a bottle of Coke or Pepsi, and like a candy bar or something. It was like $6, right? And it was purposely supposed to be like that. So for anyone to say that, this field, that they're making money off this field, it's just an absolutely ludicrous and untrue statement. It is an absolutely untrue statement. Do you make a couple bucks on it? I guess you could, but the amount of hours of work that you're going to put in, you're going to pay yourself like $2 an hour. You have people from the community that are fantastic to come out and volunteer and get all that stuff done. It's a beautiful facility, and it honors two girls. And like I said, God forbid if I ever had to go through this, I can't think of a better way to honor my children than on the sport of play that they enjoyed, baseball, basketball. If your kid was a soccer player, that is an honor to have kids play there, and they all know, oh, that's Libby and Abby. They know what happened to them for generation and generation and generation. And for people to attack that is heinous, reprehensible, and just Gollum-like. There's just no other way for me to say it. But I don't hate those people. I have good thoughts for those people, and I hope that whatever happened to them in their lives, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be out here spewing that into the public. I have good thoughts for them, and hopefully they can pull the nose up on their plane and be happy, because they're not happy people. They're just not. We talked about projection on the one episode, and everyone projects. Everybody projects. The smartest of the mind hunters and the psychologists and the body language people, they project. You don't even mean to project, but you do. And what you project is you project your insecurities on other people, and people that if there's something about them that you really like, but you are jealous of them or you have ill feelings toward them, you will attack that and say, or if they have something that you don't have, you're very, conscious of that. So you'll directly attack that on them. When people have these feelings and, unfortunate incidences that happen in their lives, and maybe not the best families and things like that, you'll see things like this happen, and they ain't get mad at them. They're to clearly hurt people. And you wish you could wave a wand and heal everybody. And we could still have disagreements about if Richard Allen's guilty or not. I have some really good friends on here that I communicate with, two of them yesterday, and they both think that Richard Allen's 100% innocent. And I enjoy the banter back and forth. I really do. We talk about other things before and stuff like that too. But I don't have a problem with those people. I'm not going to call you stupid or anything, nothing like that, if you believe Richard Allen's innocent. But the people that are blaming families and their wild theories, I mean, Stephen King couldn't write some of these things that these folks come up with, but their numbers are spiking, their viewers are spiking, so there's a market for it. So, and it's a free platform. They involuntary medicated for a fake disorder. Well, again, yeah, they would have to have done that. That's a good point, Big Fish. Why didn't the defense ever say that? I never heard anyone say that before. But yeah, I never looked at it that way. I wonder why the defense hasn't said that too, though. You see what I mean? But that's a good pull. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. I don't know if Cryptex has been here or not. I know Frank Meister's coming up in 8. He was involuntary medicating because he was smashing his head for his own safety. Oh, okay. So what Jinx is saying is he kind of knew what he was doing, and even though he was fucking sure it fucking hurt his head, smashing his head against the wall, but he was trying to do that to show that he was crazy. So the medication was so he could quit hitting his head off the wall. The argument would be, was he crazy and hit his head off the wall, or in a psychosis and hit his head off the wall, or was he smart like a fox and hit his head off the wall, saying this is going to draw, something or whatever. But I get it. I get what you're saying, everyone. Yeah, it's very odd. And the other thing, too, that the state didn't kind of nail down on, in my opinion, was, and a psychosis could happen in spurts, but usually you're not going to see like a couple hours on. He's going to skip 3 meals. Then he always takes that 4th meal because he knows if he doesn't take that 4th meal, that the repercussions or whatever the fuck he has to go do or whatever. So he skips 3 and he takes the 4th. The thing where he's talking to the guy, he's talking about the dream he had about his daughter with an erection. if you're really motivated to prove that you're crazy, uh, I don't know. That's hard to do. I don't know. I don't know. I've never heard of anything like that before. So, which side puts out lies? The defense. Yeah, well, yeah, it wasn't solitary. If you watch Oz, it wasn't the whole. Hey, there's Frank Meister. Frank, we're all coming over in 7 minutes. So be ready to have that Frank Meister video cranking. Frank Meister sent me a picture, and I've doctored it up a little bit, and I have a couple more to send him. I'm not going to share them here, but they're funny. Even later, Wallace said she thought. Yeah. But what they're saying is Big Fish that Wallace did say he thought he was faking or malingering. That's a weird malingering. People are still using that word, right? But what she did say was that they were medicating him for hurting himself. But she thought that that he wasn't feigning it. Yeah, well, you're right. But what we're saying is when he was medicated, to my knowledge, in that timeline, that Waller thought that he was showing signs of faking and signs of manipulation because I think he was medicated earlier. But I could have it backwards. But what they're saying was the medication came because of the self-harm. But she did kind of go back and forth with it. But I think the general gist of it was she thought he was faking more as she was called and beat up by the defense really good and called by the state. I thought maybe that's why she wasn't in the courtroom because she was going to be a witness or something like that. But there's a good chance that the defense has told her not necessarily not to come, but like, hey, don't take pictures with nobody. Don't give off that vibe that I'm not saying that she's doing this at all, but don't give off that vibe like you're a celebrity or this or that because there was some backlash against the pictures. And it'd be a smart move for the defense, but I don't know. I can't say anything. I don't know and said anything about it. And of course, I don't know any, no one's making any crazy accusations or nothing. Wednesday faking, yeah. But she's saying, I don't know, maybe I have it wrong too, Jinx, but at some point that she would believe he was in some kind of something. But if we're talking about that early on when he got the shot, I do believe that that's how it played out. I haven't heard that either way, Luis. I've heard different things about the daughter looking at him, not looking at him. But again, like you have the Patty and the Williams family, right? Like rural Indiana, Americana, Heartland. The guy works at the goddamn John Deere tractor place. Like, they're like almost like a Little House on the Prairie thing. No family's perfect. All families have issues, right? People in the family have had issues. There was prison time there. You like to hope the people, you give them a second chance when you're coming out of, you've spent time in jail and you want a second chance after prison, right? Certainly a lot of people on YouTube should feel that way, right? I always feel that way. Give them a second chance. Unless you have a crime against a child or you murder somebody, I don't think there's really any coming back from that. I'm not talking self-defense, I'm talking cold-blooded. But anything kind of past that, maybe you stole something, maybe you're on drugs and you were doing crazy shit, there could be a comeback from that. So you would hope to have that. And, Kelsey, who's just like, I still haven't met her, even though I'm on the payroll. Still haven't met her. Would love to meet her and her husband sometime, just to say hi. I probably will never happen. I met Becky kind of by chance. She was at the field. We went to look at the field. But I'd like to shake Mike's hand, and I would like for them to do whatever they need to do after this adjudication's over, whether it's guilty or innocent. And if they choose to do it or not, they can really, really go after some people if they want to, local and across the country. Something tells me that they're not going to do that just because they're the Patties and they're like, you know what, we don't need this. We don't need pennies from people that don't have pennies. It just, leave it go. But there's certainly a basis there. And I'm sure many of attorneys have reached out to them. Yeah, but again, it's witness against witness. So, but again, the term solitary confinement is a not the proper term for Alan, because he had constantly had interaction in people. The solitary part there, big fish, is well, they used to just put people in a fucking hole, bring them meals 3 times a day, leave them there naked. Yeah, it's not. It happens. I don't like it. I don't think it's necessarily fair, but people aren't. Some of these places aren't equipped for this. They should be. They should make them equipped. There's a guy in Indiana that shot a cop that's in there now. But yeah, I just not lashing out against anybody. That people have their own channels. They do what they want to do. But once this defense rests, are you finally going to give up the family had something involved? Or will you say that the defense is involved in the conspiracy? There's no option 3. You understand? There's no option 3 there. And they haven't even hinted down this way. They didn't list those people's names when they said third-party suspects. Nothing. So all that's just a bunch of fucking load of hooey. And the people that are saying it, I hope that, you find a little more happiness in life. I'm not saying you're not always happy or you don't have happy moments, but I hope that you could turn that frown upside down and smile a little bit more and, not harass the family of murdered children. And no one needs to pay me a penny to stand up for them. I always will. And I think that they're great people. When I'm, like I said, I met Becky. I'd like to meet everyone eventually. If it ever happens, it ever happens. Maybe we'll get a Florida trial. If we get a Florida trial, I'm going out there. And maybe I can meet him then. Hopefully that'll happen. But after Delphi, after the adjudication, guilty or not guilty, I'm full bore into Florida, folks. But I'm going to get out of here. Go check out Frank Meister and let him tell you what he's going to tell you about what he saw in the courtroom, eyes on, boots on the ground, supposed yelling match. I'm setting him up like a DJ here. A supposed yelling match between a member of the jury and the judge. Frank Meister says, to quote Lee Corso, "Not so fast, my friend." Tentacles, everybody. Have a great Tuesday night. Give someone a high five that voted for someone different than you today. I don't hear riots in the street yet. I mean, it's 8 o'clock, so hopefully the United States will be here tomorrow. Thank you so much. I owe you guys. I'm still going to do another members only. Promise you. Congratulations for the memberships that you got. Thank you so much for the people that bought memberships for people. You guys are awesome. We'll do one soon. But I'm going to get off. Go check Frank and Kristen. I think Kristen's with them tonight. I love you all. Great chat. Sorry I missed a lot of questions. I was kind of skipping through things. But if you watch it later, let me know what you think. Like, share it, subscribe it. If you think I'm full of shit, tell me in the comments. But just keep it real. We can discuss. All right, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Enjoy the great weather. Beautiful weather in PA right now. 72 degrees. Coach Kev out.